I'm now 45, and I want to say to women my age who might think that, their chances of achieving a big adventure or a big ambition are over, you are just getting started. My name's Wendy Searle. I'm the Expeditions Manager for Shackleton, and in January 2020 I became only the 7th woman in the world to ski solo unsupported to the Geographic South Pole. My experience in Antarctica really left me hungry for more. It's such an incredible place and I couldn't wait to go back. To beat the record, I need to do everything I can to optimise my journey, and that means looking at the weight of my kit, the weight of my food, my ski technique, the amount of sleep I get, how much training I've done in the run-up to it, to look at every aspect to make those marginal gains, make a big change overall. So looking back at the last expedition, I know that I need to be 7% faster, so it really all is in the numbers. I need to have trained 7% harder. I need to really find that extra energy and strength from somewhere. I know that on the first expedition, I was totally done by the time I'd finished skiing for the day and putting my tent up on my hands and knees. So I've really got to be smart in my approach to my training, and I think that's so key to make sure that I'm fully prepared for the adventure. This challenge it's ambitious, but I think it's achievable, and part of it is just a love of Antarctica. It's just such an incredible place. To be there is such a privilege, so that's definitely part of it. But also my job is to kind of inspire women to go out and do those big challenges, to set themselves those challenging goals, those kind of scary things that you're not 100% sure whether you can do or not. That's what you need to do to kind of move things forward and find out where your passions truly lie. In a coastline to pole journey, you're looking at skiing uphill every single day for weeks at a time. You're starting at sea level, but you finish at just under 10,000 feet, so you have the altitude to contend with. Then there's the weather, so it can be down to about -40 even in the Antarctic summer season, and you're looking at risk of crevassing, whiteout conditions where you really can't see anything but your own skis and your compass, and that is very mentally draining. But there's also all the other things that might go wrong in everyday life as well, like you burn yourself on the cooker, or you fall over and break a limb. There's a whole range of things that are out to get you and that you really have to be thinking about all the time. The added challenge of doing it solo is that you cannot rely on anybody else to kind of help you out with some of the things that you might not be 100% sure of. You have to be 100% sure about everything and be able to do everything yourself. You really have to know inside out how to use every piece of equipment, how to repair it, and really have quite a lot of confidence in your own judgment, because you're deciding which direction to ski in, where and when to pitch camp. If there's a storm approaching, do you stop now or stop in an hour or 2 hours? And to be able to make all those decisions all the time when there's only you to rely on is it's a much harder and very different experience. I'm definitely bringing to this expedition a lot more self-belief and knowledge about myself. So I know that I'm incredibly resourceful. I know that I have a lot of reserves of determination and resilience. I'm probably my own worst critic, rightly or wrongly. So, if I'm having a bad day, I give myself a proper talking to. And I actually learned quite a lot of mental coping strategies, which I've since learned that sports psychologists recommend for people on trips like that are extremely mentally and physically demanding. So I would definitely kind of break up my days, break up the weeks, break up the journey by treating myself at the end of the day to something, or, when you've got to the end of 5 days, you can call home. And so learning those techniques of how to kind of manage your mental resilience and the mental side of such an expedition, I think will really help me on this next trip. An expedition like this has a lot of things that are outside of your control. Right from that golden age of polar exploration, the one thing that you can't control is the weather, and that's been the same, regardless of whether it's Scott and Amundsen's time or present day. If there's a storm, probably the expedition's over, because if you're pinned down in a tent and you're not moving every day, then the record is lost, and you are at the mercy of Antarctica and whether or not she will allow you to complete your journey. There might be other people attempting records or doing expeditions. It's very much focusing and learning to think about what's within your control and trying to ignore the rest, and it's really, really difficult to do, but it does help. So You know, if someone's out there doing a journey themselves, where they are on the ice is completely irrelevant because it's about you in Antarctica. So I'm definitely more sort of pragmatic and philosophical about that side of things now, which is something that I will definitely take with me onto this future journey, and something that was a really valuable lesson the first time round. When you think of polar explorers, you think of bearded men from Scott and Shackleton's time, and maybe from more recent times. So what I'm trying to do is show that there's more space for lots of more different kinds of people. There's a lot of space there for women. You know, why am I only the 7th woman to have done that journey? There are definitely more to come, and the more women that are doing those kind of journeys, the more role models there'll be for what might be considered as a very kind of non-typical explorer. I'm 5'5", I'm not Amazonian, I don't have a huge weight to put behind a pulk, but actually the research is starting to show that although men and women perform differently, there are ways that women use their body fat, their resources, their mental strength that over a very, very long endurance period can actually outperform men. So it's a really interesting time to be involved in research in that area, and to really kind of be part of the conversation and discover what might happen next. Kit is a really important part of improvements to this particular expedition compared to last time. And one of the things that has been looked at in a huge amount of detail is the pulk suit, so the jacket and salopettes that I'm going to wear when I'm skiing along, pulling my sled, my pulk. And what's interesting is that they're not kind of super down warm jackets and trousers, they're windproof, and that's really key because you're generating a lot of body heat, but you still need protection from the wind. And I'm really excited to have seen the Shackleton pulk suit, and what's really nice about this is I think it is the first ever pulk suit that's been specially designed for women, and it's got some super exciting features which have been really well thought of for that environment, for how you use it when you're pulling a sled, and just everything you need for to make it kind of optimum, so it's something that you can just forget about and concentrate on the progress of the journey. It's really important for me as a mother to show my kids that if you're passionate and determined and you are consistent in your drive to succeed and to reach a long-term goal, that almost anything is possible. I'm standing here because I just kept chipping away at a huge goal and eventually made it. What I've seen from them is that they're amazingly driven and passionate about their own things. They're not necessarily outdoorsy, but that doesn't matter. What matters is that they are completely focused on their own goals and really have that self-belief that it's possible. I know I need to be 7% faster to break the record next time, but that's really almost secondary to the conditions that I'm going to face. And I know now what's waiting for me in Antarctica. The winds are cruel and so cold that you don't want to stop really at all. The whiteout conditions are just grinding if you have day after day of not being able to see anything. I was managing to trick myself that I was skiing downhill even though I knew it was definitely uphill, because you've got no proprioception, you've absolutely no idea in space where you are, and it's really, really draining to be in that position. Just being in that environment with those super cold temperatures, you know, you're in your tent and in the morning you can hear the wind, and knowing you've got to kind of get out there and face that again for another 10, 11 hours really is quite a sort of a mental game, being able to get out, roll your tent up, get on your skis and go. They send you away from the areas of known crevassing, but there's never no risk, so you're always thinking about that and where you can and can't camp and what crevassing areas look like. Knowing what I'm going to face is good and bad because I can prepare for it, but it's brutal. This is without doubt the biggest challenge of my life, but at the same time it's super exciting to be going back to such an incredible place. I feel very, very fortunate, and you know, where there's cold, there's pristine environment, where there's isolation, there's this amazing solitude, and where there's this deprivation, this simplicity. So, you know, it's going to be an absolutely incredible challenge, but that's really what She Who Dares is all about. She Who Dares is beginning on the 5th of December, so not very long now, and you can follow my progress of the training build-up and the expedition itself on shackleton.com.